Second, the minority and the president have special protections under House Resolution 660. The procedures provided under House Resolution 660 give the president and the minority a variety of special privileges to present evidence and subpoena witnesses. Thus, there are alternative procedures under HRS 660 by which witnesses can be requested and even subpoenaed, but they have not been exercised. Third, there is no precedent for the use of minority days to delay committee, legislative, or impeachment proceedings. It is clear from the legislative history that the minority day rule is not intended to delay legislative activity. Again, as the Committee on the Organization of the Congress explicitly explained, we do not look upon this rule as an authorization for delaying tactics, unquote. The minority day rule was made part of the House rules in 1971, but it was not invoked in either the Nixon or Clinton impeachments. As a matter of fact, the only precedent I am aware of in the context of impeachment took place several weeks ago in the Intelligence Committee.
Well, I hope these Democrats know this is their last time in office.
Witnesses participate in their proceedings. The minority ultimately did not raise a point of order. While they did offer an amendment,
I used to vote for who I liked,
that amendment was rejected by the committee.
but from now on, straight Republican.
No precedent supporting the gentleman's point of order.
I've even voted for a Democrat president before. Not anymore.
Consideration of articles of impeachment.
The way these guys are acting blows my fucking mind.
Last year, a number of other members and I sent then Chairman Goodlatte a minority day request. The chairman never responded to our request and never scheduled a hearing. I don't believe a single member of the then majority argued in favor of us being granted our hearing under the rules. Back in 2005, then Chairman Sensenbrenner scheduled the minority day hearing, but cut off witnesses, shut off the microphones, shut off the lights, and abruptly ended the hearing while members were seeking recognition to speak. Again, no one in the then majority argued in favor of protecting our rights. As a result, there's no committee practice or precedent supporting the gentleman's point of order. For all the foregoing reasons, I do not suspect...
Hell, y'all's lights have been turned out a long time ago. You can tell by what we speak.
For what purpose does the gentleman seek recognition?
I think it is very obvious, the length of the chairman's answer to my question, that this has struck a nerve, seeing how the chairman himself says it in his own words from previous times. It is not the chairman's right to decide whether prior hearings are sufficient, or the chairman's right to decide whether he thinks they're acceptable, or the chairman's right to violate the rules in order to interfere. It is interesting to me that this time has become the issue.
There you go. Take a gavel of yes.
Does the gentleman wish to appeal the ruling of the chair?
I would like, for the sake of history, I'd like, for the sake of history, the chairman take one more minute.
Does the gentleman wish to appeal the ruling of the chair? Yes or no?
Yes. Obviously, we're on the clock and calendar of impeachment again because the chairman is doing this again.
The appeal of the ruling of the chair is not sustained.
Did you actually call for a vote? How is it not sustained? You didn't call for a vote.
I sustained the point of order.
I call for a bill ruling of the chair. I call for a vote.
I sustained the point. I ruled that the point of order is not well taken.
Well, that's painfully obvious. I've appealed the ruling of the chair.
And I move to table.
The gentleman has appealed the ruling of the chair. The gentlelady has moved to table the appeal of the ruling of the chair. The motion to table is not debatable. All in favor of the motion to table, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Nope.
The appeal of the ruling of the chair is tabled. We will now proceed to amendment.
Roll call.
The gentleman asked for roll call on the motion to table.
That way we can vote y'all's ass out of office.
We'll call the roll.
Mr. Nadler?
Aye.
Mr. Nadler votes aye. Ms. Lofgren?
Yes.
Ms. Lofgren votes yes. Ms. Jackson-Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson-Lee votes yes. Mr. Cohen? Mr. Cohen votes aye. Mr. Johnson of Georgia?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson of Georgia votes aye. Mr. Deutsch?
Aye.
Mr. Deutsch votes aye. Ms. Bass? Ms. Bass votes aye. Mr. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr.
Looks
Richmond
like
votes
Miss
yes.
Ass.
Mr. Jeffries? Mr. Jeffries votes aye. Mr. Cicilline?
Aye.
Mr. Cicilline votes aye. Mr. Swalwell?
Aye.
Mr. Swalwell votes aye. Mr. Liu? Mr. Raskin?
Aye.
Mr. Raskin votes aye. Ms. Jayapal? Ms. Jayapal votes aye. Ms. Stemmings? Ms. Stemmings votes aye.
Idiot.
Mr. Correa? Mr. Correa votes aye. Ms. Scanlon? Aye. Ms. Scanlon votes aye. Ms. Garcia? Aye. Ms. Garcia votes aye. Mr. Neguse? Mr. Neguse votes aye. Ms. McBath? Aye. Ms. McBath votes aye. Mr. Stanton?
Aye.
Mr. Stanton votes aye. Ms. Dean? Aye. Ms. Dean votes aye.
You're gonna lose your ass.
Aye. Mr. McCarcel-Powell votes aye. Ms. Escobar? Aye. Ms. Escobar votes aye. Mr. Collins?
No.
Mr. Collins votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner? Mr. Sensenbrenner votes no. Mr.
Remember
Chapman-
the
Mr. Chapman
one
votes no.
that
Mr.
voted
Gomer-
aye
Mr. Gomer votes
and their
no. Mr.
picture
Jordan-
and what they look
Mr.
like
Jordan
and their
votes no. Mr.
names?
Buck. Mr.
And
Buck
let's
votes
vote
no.
their ass out of office
Mr. Ratcliffe votes no. Miss Roby?
so they'll
Mr.
have
Lee
plenty
votes
of
no.
time
Mr.
to
Gates?
think about what
Mr.
idiotic
Gates votes
shit
no.
they're
Mr.
pulling
Johnson of
here.
Louisiana? Mr. Johnson of Louisiana votes no. Mr. Biggs? Mr. Biggs votes no. Mr. McClintock?
No.
Mr. McClintock votes no. Miss Lesko? Miss Lesko votes no. Mr. Reschenthaler? Mr. Reschenthaler votes no. Mr. Klein?
No.
Mr. Klein votes no. Mr. Armstrong? No. Mr. Armstrong votes no. Mr. Stubbe? Mr. Stubbe votes no.
Has everyone voted who wishes to vote? Clerk will report.
I want to vote no.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The appeal of the ruling of the chair is tabled. We will now proceed to amendments. The clerk will read the first section of the resolution.
HRS 755, impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States for high crimes and misdemeanors. In the House of Representatives, December 10, 2019, Mr. Nadler submitted the following resolution, which was referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Resolution, impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. Articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and of the people of the United States of America against Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, in maintenance and support of its impeachment against him for high crimes and misdemeanors.
I now recognize
He don't even
myself
take
for
a
purposes of
damn
offering amendments
paycheck.
in the nature of a substitute. The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to HRS 755, offered by Mr. Nadler of New York. Strike all that follows after the
That
resolving
explains a
clause
lot,
and insert
New
the
York.
following.
Without objection, the amendment shall be considered as read. Without objection, the amendment shall be considered as base text for further amendment. I will now recognize myself to explain.
They're going to turn all the blue states red. That's a good
There's a
thing.
minor change in certain places where the underlying resolution refers to Donald J. Trump. The amendment refers to Donald John Trump.
Talk about holding a
Otherwise, there is no
grudge.
changes to the resolution.
These people
There is
have
one of my
held
colleagues
one
to
since
support.
day one.
I now recognize the ranking member, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Collins, for any comments he may have on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendment nature of a substitute is absolutely irrelevant. Taking Donald J. Trump and making Donald Trump John Trump just simply shows the frankly absurdity of where we're at. And today we're going to spend plenty of time for you listening here. We're going to talk about this amendment nature substitute. We're going to talk about the factual basis that are absolutely no factual underpinning to impeach this president. But I'm going to go back for just a minute since I didn't have time and had to sit through a well-rehearsed, many days put together explanation on why that what will be known in 2019 outside of the fact that this committee finally accomplished its goal after the chairman stated he wanted to since November of last year, impeach this president. What will be known by this committee from here on out is that this committee has now sounded the death of minority rights in this committee. This committee has become nothing but a rubber stamp. This committee is amazingly now on such a clock and calendar process that they don't care. Facts be damned. They don't care. They don't care that we had one witness out of three. When I asked for a second witness, I was told I couldn't, even though there have been staff conversations well before. I was told I was asking too late. One witness out of two panels, that's all we had of fact witnesses. This is a just travesty and a sham from day one. I could talk till I'm blue in the face, but nobody on the majority cares. But the spot that is left by what has just happened will resonate over the years. It will resonate over the years in the sense that there is no fact that we can come to. They had no desire to hear any fact witnesses outside of their own train-driven clock calendar impeachment. For the chairman himself, who vehemently fought for minority hearing day, to sit there and read that is an amazing statement and a crushing blow to this committee. There's no way to recover from that. In fact, there may be. I wonder if the chairman would join me in making sure that the Rules Committee next week, they don't waive the point of order against this. But I know they will. That's why they're going to take it. Because I'll guarantee you, when you look into it further, this point of order would be sustained against these impeachment articles, so they're going to have to waive them next week. Watch and see. They will waive this point of order and waive any other point of order on these articles by the time it comes to the floor. For some of you may say, The ranking member talks about process. The ranking member talks about process. The ranking member talks about process, never the foundation. Believe me, we will inundate you with the facts, and I have already. Some of you just don't choose to report them. What is important, and for many who report on this body, and for many who have sat in this body, and for those who have served in this body, the members who have gone before, and the people who have set this committee up, and the people who have set our Congress up, are the ones right now that should be hanging their head in shame. We had 2 hearings, none of which featured fact witnesses. There's not a Democrat in this room that should be happy about this. The solemnity should be on the death of this committee's process and procedures. Don't give me the solemnity about impeaching a president. You've been wanting to do that for a long time. You ought to take it and just rejoice. Go at it. Because this is what you wanted. But when it comes to the hearing, when it comes to the minority rights, when it comes to one that in which we have seen time after time after time, in which I have had to write this chairman multi-page letters on the abuse of procedural issues in this committee, this is a travesty. Write about it if you want, talk about it if you want, but the American people see it because the American people understand inherently fairness. They understand due process. Why? Because it's what America was based on. It is what America takes pride in. And when we don't have it, nobody can have it. When we don't have fairness in this committee, how can they stand up and say, of the 2 weakest articles of impeachment in the history of this country, honestly, with a straight face, look at the American people and say, we did good. No, you didn't.
Roseanne Barr, what do you think about this bullshit?
You've taken this committee and made it a rubber stamp. Did any of the majority run to be a rubber stamp to get the majority? I know the minority on this side did not. You know why I know it's why we've become a rubber stamp? Because my chairman said so 20 years ago. He said so 20 years ago when he said, if the committee only accepts what other people give them and do not on their own verify and thoroughly vet it, then we are nothing but a rubber stamp. Mr. Chairman, you should have run for a chairmanship, I believe, more than to be a rubber stamp for Mr. Schiff and Ms. Pelosi. We already knew this committee was overrun and overtaken because Mr. Schiff and Ms. Pelosi took it from us earlier this year. There's the first embarrassment. And the rest of it has been an embarrassment since. So as we look at this and as we go forward, we'll have plenty of time to show the complete farce of substance. But Mr. Chairman, what will live from this day is your ruling and the majority's ruling of minority rights are dead in this Congress and especially this committee. I yield back.
Move to Chairman yields back. Are there any amendments to the amendments?
Mr. Chairman.
Are there any amendments to the amendment?
Chairman, move to strike last word.
For what purpose does Mr. Dorsey recognize?
Move to strike the last word.
Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I cannot allow the ranking member to mischaracterize your description of the history of this committee. It may be inconvenient
Oh, fuck
for
you,
the ranking
Baldy.
member to be forced to